the guy on the top, on the roof water cannon, can put down a mass discharge of foam. That would use about 3,000 litres of water a minute. In the meantime, the guys on the side hoses are running them out and add a further 450 litres a minute to the firefighting effort. Once the fire is sufficiently knocked down, should be within the first minute of arrival, we can then make an entry into the aircraft, depending on what it is, and look for survivors, aircrew, passengers and such like. Of course, we'll be there several hours cooling the aircraft. On completion of that, it could take quite a long time to make sure that every bit of the fire and all the aircraft is cooled down sufficiently before we can leave the crash site. The usual reasons for call-outs are thankfully not major crashes, although of course they do happen fairly regularly. But several times a day we could get called out to what we call precautionary incidents, where a pilot has radioed to air traffic control that he might have a problem with his aircraft, smouldering wires, something in the cockpit, or hydraulic problems. And then the guys would have to man up the wagons and go across to the base and basically be prepared for anything to happen like that.
In part 2, the aircrews who wear nuclear and biological protection, and the display team known as the Black Cats. Back at Yeovilton, helicopter warfare instructor Lieutenant Andy Thompson is briefing an important exercise for HMS Southampton's flight crew.
Hopefully it's going to be a nice, safe serial this afternoon. The intention is not to go for dead ground every time.
The purpose of this exercise is to train up the aircrew in fighter evasion. If we were engaged by fixed-wing fighter aircraft, the purpose is to train us up in the evasive manoeuvres that we'd want to take in such a scenario.
Markers based at 60 knots transit. We will come down initially into the valley and then turn around to the north with a base track of 355, routing right the way up to the coast for our sea leg.
We will fly a low-level route over Exmoor, and we'll have two Hawks flying from Yeovilton who will try and bounce us along the route, and we'll have to try and evade them along the route so they can't get a missile solution or a gun solution on us.
Briefing complete, the Hawks head off to the exercise area, followed by Mark and Amy in their newly repaired Lynx.
The whole process of fighter evasion is very much a crew concept, all maintaining a good lookout, because really the best thing we can do is avoid being detected in the first place. And the sooner that we spot the attacking aircraft, the better, because we can take more of an action to avoid it. If it's a late sighting and it's already close to us, and really that's when we'll start to be altering direction, trying to make ourselves as difficult for him to lock onto as possible. In these situations, we're up against fast, fixed-wing aircraft. Ourselves in a helicopter, although we're very slow, we're much more manoeuvrable, and so we've also got the added advantage of just hovering and coming all the way down to ground level, whereas the fixed wings got the speed on us so they can take action very quickly, but then we've got the flexibility of how we're going to respond to it. Okay, yeah, vision.
Mark suddenly gets a warning and takes evasive action as a Hawk screams towards them.
Oh yeah, visual. He's now at the 8 o'clock around the 9 o'clock heading towards the flight on.
Guns.
The Hawks did shoot us down a few times. You'll probably hear guns several times, which means he's got a firing solution on us with his guns. If you hear Fox 2, that means he's got a missile solution on us. Obviously, we're trying not to give him a solution on us, and we're trying to evade him and get into the dead ground, either in a valley or give a crossing solution so that he has limited time to get a solution on us.
As soon as we spot it, it depends on the range that it's at from us. If it's quite close to us, then really we just want to make ourselves as difficult a target as possible for the attacking aircraft. So we'll either turn towards it, cross its path, and really just keep moving so that it can't lock onto us. So we're going to
Having these evasion skills could one day save their lives. And while Mark and Amy are dodging Hawks over Exmoor, one of the Sea King squadrons is also practicing something rather sinister, flying their aircraft in a nuclear or chemical warfare environment.
Just tilt the shield around the neck to make sure there's no kinks.
and there's no material underneath.
That's what it's in. That's what this took in for.
It should do, yeah.
What we're wearing today is just the mask, the basic flying mask, which just will provide air for you to breathe. What we're not wearing today is the full undersuit with carbon lining, the oversuit, the NBC gloves, the NBC boots, and the whole nuclear biological kit. So all we're doing today is just practicing flying in the mask. When you wear everything else, it increases the weight you're carrying, it increases the uncomfortableness.
Just so that the hooks don't rip the suit.
You saw dressing today takes about 10 minutes putting the mask on. When you're putting the whole suit on, it could take up to an hour.
Press that down yourself now. Okay.
Your vision's obviously impaired. You're obviously a lot hotter, a lot sweatier. It's not pleasant. It's like wearing a big bag over your head with a little plastic visor on the front. It's very, very restrictive. It mists up very easily. You're not comfortable at all. It hurts your neck, it hurts your head, it makes your eyes water, your breathing's hard. Flying's not easy at the best of times, but when you can't see everything, you're trying to move your head, and you're obviously aware that you can't see as much as you normally would. So it makes a difficult trip a lot harder, and it also makes you try and concentrate more. But when you try and concentrate more, you work hard, you get hotter, which it's just a big vicious circle.
Standing down, so yeah, positioning, you're going to be tired. Straight on the floor again, yeah.
Nuclear, biological and chemical suits as a protection in the aircraft, so that
Take it off, yeah, straight off.
we can fly through a threat area. It means we can go in and extract troops from that area, obviously without putting ourselves at too much risk.
Right, you right, sir?
Fantastic.
Yeah, any snags?
No, it's fine.
Not too tight around the face or anything like that?
Obviously won't protect you if you're hit by the weapon itself. However, if you're flying through a cloud of, say, a nerve agent or a gas cloud or something like that, then it will give you limited protection.
45 minutes in cold temperatures outside, you know what I mean? Yeah, just leave the vent running there. And breathe. Any problems?
Oh, no, that's fine.
Yeah?
Oh,
Make sure you drink lots of water, sir, for the next hour or so.
okay.
Yeah.
It's quite restrictive because it's quite hot, and also normally you move your head around quite a bit. And because you've got the visor here, as a helicopter pilot, you need to keep moving your head all the time. That in itself is quite hard work. And also, you probably saw strapping in, it's quite hard work because you've got the hose, you've got to lean right across, and you're trying to put it inside this little cubicle with a bit of elastic, and it's quite hard work. And that's only half an hour, so try doing that for 3 or 4 hours at a time. And also, in reality, if it was a full NBC environment, you'd have the full NBC suit on as well. So it'd be very hot and extremely tiring. But that's why we practice this, at least once a year, just so the kit fits, the kit works, and also we're familiar with it, so it makes that a bit easier.
Meanwhile, student pilot Lieutenant Gus Carney is about to be given a task by his instructor Scotty that will concentrate his mind.
Okay, what we're going to look at now is what happens. We're going to simulate both engines failing on the aircraft itself, and Gus is going to fly the aircraft in auto rotation. It's basically going to be a controlled sycamore leaf falling out the sky. We have in excess of 2,500 feet per minute rate of descent towards the ground. The aircraft is now in auto rotation.
Just raise the lever to contain that 200 feet.
Now going to flare the aircraft.
Flaring.
Gus flares the aircraft to avoid a hard landing, but does Scotty have any comments to make about his efforts?
Remember, when you start to flare the aircraft, the nose of the aircraft comes up. The rad out is now showing the hypotenuse. So the rad out itself shows a climb. What you tended to do to keep the 50 feet was on the rad out, the aircraft...
It's a lot harder than it looks, and Gus is only too aware of this.
Perishable skill flying a helicopter. Yep. So you forget things very quickly, especially with a guy's experience as Scotty. You're trying to make sure you look your best in front of him. And it's very important to have an instructor then debrief you in a way that you can see that he's been pleased with your progress, which makes you even more confident, and that goes on to reflect the flying you do in the future as well.
Engaged on the flying itself, massive improvement since the last sortie, and that's very nice to see. Okay, I think there's a long way to go before you can control your feet.
Yeah.
Don't use them. It's been 2 weeks since he last flew, and prior to that, he's been 8 months on holdover from when he left RAF Shawbury. So it's very pleasing to see the progress that he is making.